and completed 2 passes to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Good to see him in on some action. That was for 15 yards. Mahomes says he likes to have 1 or 2 drives under his belt, and Coach Andy Reid does let him do that. That's all fine and good. But by the way, this debate we're about to have, those at home, you'll be able to pick a winner of this debate through the QR code that's about to pop up on your screen. So go ahead and hit that QR code and then vote on who you think actually
my
wins.
record going today.
Hold on. Let me text some of my friends and family to make sure that they go vote for me.
And let me tell you, so today's debate comes with receipts, so everyone better stay ready. Okay, so guys, after seeing that Mahomes hasn't necessarily skipped a beat, and I know it was only a couple of drives, but nonetheless, when we're looking ahead, Dan, I'll start with you here. Do you think the Chiefs will be better, worse, or the same this upcoming season? It's hard to be better coming off of a Super Bowl victory, but I think you catch the drift.
I think that this is a team that's going to be better, given that Chris Jones is a part of their football team. Last year, just speaking to their defense, okay? Last year, their defense had rookies play more snaps in the playoffs than anybody in the NFL. So all those young players not only played good enough to win the Super Bowl, but they gathered and gained that experience that is going to make them an even better unit. And I expect McDuffie to be better. I expect George Karlaftis to be better. And so you're talking about a unit that is incredibly talented and young. This is all in the context of Chris Jones being a part of that defense, okay? Now, offensively, I will give people there are question marks. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are transcendent. They're and Travis Kelce. Have proven that they are greater than their circumstances and/or surroundings. The 2 question marks I have about their offense are, 1 at left tackle. Orlando Brown Jr. is now with the Cincinnati Bengals. So can Donovan Smith, who comes over from the Bucks, be a good enough player for them? And then you see some of the wide receiver names in the middle. Rashee Rice, their draft pick. Does he step up? Does Sky Moore from 2 years ago? Does Justin Ross, who's been hurt but a young player from Clemson? That's the big question mark I have, guys, because this is kind of a shocking statistic, okay? There's 2 teams in the NFL, big fella, right now, that have less production wide receiver-wise when it comes to receptions, reception yardage, and touchdowns than the Chiefs. The Atlanta Falcons and the Green Bay Packers. So I think that they'll be better because of their defense and Patrick and all that, and I believe in some of their young talent. But some of those question marks do linger, but I think that this is going to be a better football team because of how young they were last season.
Okay, well, which one is it? All right, you keep bringing up these question marks, talking about they'll be better. I cannot say that they'll be better, Dio. You just said there's a question at the left tackle spot. First of all, Donovan Smith has played a lot of football, but Donovan Smith has held a lot in football. And the one thing that could disrupt this offense is penalties. And we know that. And we know that when you ushering in 2 new tackles starting in the system, and you're right, we've seen Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid overcome a lot. We've seen them overcome things like that. The one thing we haven't seen them overcome is bad offensive line play. It's been an issue here before in this franchise, as we've seen. And I'm not just pointing to the Super Bowl. You can point back to when they were struggling a little bit early in the season. That unit wasn't playing great throughout that game stretch. And I know we focused on Patrick Mahomes and he turned the football over more times than not. And we were talking about what's going on with this Kansas City team. That offensive line was playing into a lot of what that offensive struggle was for this team. The other part is, and you mentioned it with Chris Jones. Look, it's a foregone conclusion that Chris Jones better be back in the Kansas City Chiefs defense. If they not stupid and they want to try to go win another Super Bowl, they better get 95 back in the fold, because he is the heartbeat of that defense, and he's the transcendent player that makes everyone else around him better. So I do believe that this defense can be better, but I can't say this team is going to be better, Dio, with 2 new offensive tackles being implemented into an offense that we know at the end of the day carries the day for the Kansas City Chiefs. They are not going to win the Super Bowl on defense. They are going to win it because of Patrick Mahomes and this unit that they put around him from a protection standpoint. I'm not even worried about the wide receivers because Travis Kelce is there. I don't care who's playing wide receiver as long as Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes are on the field. But ultimately, if we are sitting here saying, dang, man, did you see what happened to Kansas City? Or Kansas City didn't get back to the Super Bowl or back to the AFC Championship, I think we will squarely point to protection for Patrick Mahomes from those tackle spots. I don't think it's going to be an issue, but I can't say they're going to be better leading into the season trying to put two new guys in that position.
Okay, let's just state the obvious that both of you mentioned, but let's just reiterate it. If Chris Jones is not on the field, this question is completely irrelevant because the answer is immediately worse. Okay, so immediately worse. Their numbers go down significantly on the defensive side of the ball without him on the field, and third down conversion rate, QBR for the opposing quarterback, so on and so forth. So I think that's first to point out. Next, I want to let everyone know the QR code is on the screen.
Shay, hold on. I'm actually going to take the QR code and vote for myself.
Oh, okay. Good. Thank you. I didn't even need to say it. You could have seen Dan just taking the picture.
He is going to need it.
I'm voting
He needs one extra vote, apparently. So go ahead and scan
picture
the
they got
QR.
of you. Look at the picture they got of you. Look at the big fella.
I'm
handsomer.
Yes,
Shout out to
cute.
Dave.
Scan the QR code to vote who wins the debate. In terms of the defense getting a year older, too, this was a really young defense last year. They get a year older now. It's hard to think that this won't be a more cohesive unit because the growing pains are also gone from losing Tyreek Hill. Who cares about the rest of the wide receiving core when Patrick Mahomes knows he could lean on Travis Kelce going forward?
The defense, it's just Patrick and that's it, is not factually correct. The defense does play a part. No. And those young players do matter. Then don't say that. Then the second thing is this, the offensive line. When we have to give them the benefit of the doubt when it comes to identifying and developing. And I know Donovan Smith played a lot of football, but it's not like he's a 15-year veteran, okay? So, like, their offensive line, Creed Humphrey, not a first-round pick. Trey Smith, not a first-round pick. Joe Tooney, who they ended up signing in for. But they're identifying these guys and then developing them. So Jawan Taylor and Donovan Smith are two guys that they sat there and said, those are the people that we think are good enough that we can make them even better to win another Super Bowl. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. I understand that it's a question mark, but it's a different question mark in Kansas City than it is in many other organizations.
So you're going to base giving them benefit of the doubt on two players that we've seen play and their performance. Look, the only issue, I don't think Donovan Smith is trash. I don't think he's a bad left tackle. He just he hampers his offenses with his holding. With his inability to keep it clean throughout the duration of a season.
Let me
That's
ask you
the
this,
issue I have with Donovan Smith.
I'll ask you this. Do you think that the quarterback mitigates that a decent amount because he doesn't hold the football a ton?
Well, what concerns me is every time, because you brought up the point about the defense in the playoffs. All right, I agree with you. They turn the football over. But I do recollect Patrick Mahomes scampering on a high ankle sprain at the end of a game to close it out. I do recollect that. I do. Look, and no, I get it. Like, I'm a defensive player. There is a nature of disrespect to the Kansas City Chiefs defense because we focus so much on Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. But I tell you this, they ain't winning no damn Super Bowl because of the defense beyond Patrick Mahomes and what we see from Travis Kelce. That's the reality of what the Kansas City Chiefs are. Now, back to the other point. Patrick Mahomes, and you and I talk about this all the time, and we're going to talk about it this year. We maybe not in the regular season. Patrick Mahomes' ability to run and improv in the playoffs are a big reason why the Kansas City Chiefs have so much success in winning Super Bowls.
Sure.
I get concerned when a play goes for 7 seconds and there's a tackle on the field that is susceptible to holding defensive linemen. And he's going to play a lot of really good outside rushers in this AFC this year. That's my only issue.
Can we just focus on?
I won that. Scan the QR code.
And I don't know.
You don't get to vote.
Hey, hold on. Shay, real quick. Is recollect a word?
Yeah, I don't recollect. He doesn't remember.
It is.
That word.
Yeah.
Now, I feel like these are two different
it's
debates.
fine.
We're focused on the team as a whole with the Kansas City Chiefs, if they're going to be better, worse, or the same going forward. But what about where they go in the postseason? Because they're technically going to be worse if they don't make it back to a Super Bowl. But maybe that's dictated by the other teams in the AFC or the other teams in the National Football League, which could be getting better, if you know what I'm saying, Dan.
Yeah.
I agree. The conference is loaded. I think there's 3 teams in the AFC that are it's unrealistic to sit there and say that they can go to the Super Bowl. I think it's Houston, Indy, Tennessee, probably 4 in New England. So the conference is loaded. Do I think the Chiefs can be better and not win the Super Bowl? Yes, because how loaded that I guess at the end result, people would say no, but you could be a better team and not get there because you have to catch often breaks and you know they faced Cincinnati with the beat up offensive line in the AFC title game last year, so that matters. I just think that because of how young they were and because of how impressed I was with their youth, I sit there and say, man, this could be a more complete and better football team. And again, as long as that left tackle issue and the wide receiver steps up.
7 games of the season last year, Brock Purdy was Joe Montana. Okay? He's supposed to be good. As long as he's healthy, Brock Purdy is supposed to be the guy and the starter. Look, they got a terrible situation on their hands with this Trey Lance. And Dan and I talked about this. This may go down as one of the worst trades in the draft in the history of the NFL. The fortunate part is Kyle Shanahan has done such a phenomenal job of getting this team ready to play and being so creative offensively that it hasn't shown in the win-loss column. But you lost a lot by going up and get Trey Lance. And Dan and I sat there, and RC as well. We sat there during the draft and was like, why wouldn't you take Justin Fields? Like, why wouldn't you have Justin Fields in this situation after we saw Zach Wilson go? Some of us even thought that Justin Fields should go beyond Zach Wilson. But I'm going to go to my answer. Bosa. Look, I understand how important and critical the quarterback position is. And if it wasn't for the production of Bosa and the impact that he has on the entirety of the game, I would never say a defensive end situation is more important to a football team than a quarterback. But we've talked for years about how creative Kyle Shanahan is, and this offense is able to get going, and we expect Brock Purdy to be healthy when this season starts. And I do think he'll be solid because I think he understands what Kyle Shanahan is asking him to do. But if you don't have Nick Bosa, the dude that wrecks games, the highest pressure percentage in the NFL, the guy that's been Defensive Player of the Year, who impacts everybody else around him, which is still going to be a very good defense, but will not be remotely close to the same without 97 putting pressure on the end. Look, the San Francisco 49ers should be in the running again to try to make a Super Bowl run out of the NFC. I believe they are that good. I think Brock Purdy will be fine. But without Nick Bosa, they're not going to the Super Bowl. Without Nick Bosa, they will not have the defense that we've grown accustomed to. And remember this, which is added compound, DeMeco Ryans is in Houston now. I have a lot of confidence in the new defensive coordinator. But DeMeco Ryans is gone. Robert Saleh left. And now you may be talking about Nick Bosa on the holdout, the most important piece and the cornerstone of your defense. This is the biggest concern for me.
Yeah, that new DC, Steve Wilkes, is proven really good defensive mind. I have a question.
Nice. Yeah.
Is your concern that he's out and missing time in camp and getting ready to play the season? Or is your concern that you think it could lead into the regular season and him not playing games?
My concern is the regular season, Dan, because I don't see, like, this is almost very similar to the Zach Martin situation in Dallas. These are the 2 best players on your team. Like, for this to be going on and for it to be a public discourse about being disgruntled, I don't understand why this can't be a situation where everybody's on the same page and we just working through paperwork. Now, it may be, but the fact that we continue to see Nick Bosa not be there in training camp is very concerning to me, like I am with Zach Martin. These are the 2 best players on these teams, bro.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think that because he's still on his rookie deal and not getting fined on a daily basis, it makes it a little bit easier to actually hold out. I think Nick Bosa plays for the 49ers this year. Their general manager, John Lynch, defensive mind through and through and knows how important he is. So I think he plays this year. I want to be clear. I'm not concerned about the quarterbacks, but if you're asking me one of the 2, my bigger concern is the quarterback situation. It's twofold. Number 1, can Brock Purdy do it again? This is just, it's abnormal to watch a young player that was drafted so late just step into that role and not skip a beat. And I would say even become better than the person that was playing. And in many ways, and Marcus, you've talked about this before many times. Defensively, you say that it's easier to prepare for, or it's harder to prepare for a backup quarterback because you don't know a ton about him.
Absolutely.
So he plays in some way. There's a beauty in the unknown. Teams didn't have a ton of knowledge on who he was, what he was good at, what he could struggle with. And so you're playing a little bit with house money. So my question is, like, can Brock Purdy do it again? Like, we watch quarterbacks get drafted early in the NFL that are crazy talented, and they struggle in their second year. And Brock maybe isn't as physically talented as many of them. So that's my number one question is, like, can you do it now that everyone's got a whole offseason of film on you and all this data and information on you, and you haven't had the chance offseason to throw because of the injury? And the second thing is, and this is the health. I don't know what it is in San Francisco, but they've got years now where they can't keep quarterbacks healthy. Yeah. And I don't know if there's people who believe it's the system. There's people who believe that they stress, tight ends and non-traditional pass blockers in pass blocking situations. So that's out of those two things, that's what I would sit there and I would say the bigger concern is Brock Purdy really about to be the next oh my gosh guy? And can they keep these guys healthy because they haven't been able to? I think Nick Bosa plays for them.
You said Brock Purdy drafted. Go ahead.
Fair.
Brock Purdy drafted late in the draft. Brock Purdy drafted last in the draft.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus.